There it goes. Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Morning.
So we're probably gonna have a small crowd today, just because I don't think Foxy went. She had a family thing happen. So
Yeah.
I see J Rock's in the house. Hey, buddy. And my mother-in-law's would-be name, Miss Linda Worth, and Scotty the fish freak, and Depth Unknown. Hey, Jason, what's going on? My master. Oinky's in the house. Up
Oinky,
early.
you need to call Ed and wake him up.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be up here.
Robert Reed. Thanks for lurking.
Wow.
So I just had a general topic of what got you to this point in your, hey, Dix and Elfish, Uncle Smiley, Stephen P. I figure you'd be in a meeting or something. Inside out? Nope, outside in. No problem. I'll do that.
Love it.
So yeah, that was going to be my just my talking point. Wherever it goes, it goes. But
what was it again? Sorry.
Just what got you here to this point in the hobby? Like what got you started? What path did you take to get to sitting on a video screen with me, 600 miles away?
Or what Stephen P says. So the topic is, where did it all go wrong?
Right.
Well, I could tell you for me got started again in the hobby with this tank behind me. Tank's been up and running since 2018. I only moved it once into here. It used to be in a living room, and I'd be watching it instead of the TV, which is great.
Yeah.
But I went to YouTube for reasons that I've done before, like whenever I was working on small engines. If I had a question, you just type it in there, and all these videos pop up. Well, I did it with this because I remembered how I used to be a fish keeper, which was all the wrong ways, right?
Yeah.
You took the fish out in a 5-gallon bucket, and you just drained the whole tank and moved it. But luckily, that wasn't a big tank like this because, let's face it, water costs money when you live in a town.
Yeah.
But no, I just one simple question: what's the proper way of running a fish tank? And I ended up on YouTube. I just went to YouTube, asked that question. I wanted to know the proper way, and that's how I learned about the cycle. I never knew there was a cycle, and then it's just been a rabbit hole ever since. I started streaming, I'd say 2020, probably 2019, but 2020 full time, I think. And it's Ed and Fish Room Fever's fault because I used to watch whenever they used to stream together. It was one of the streams that I watched a lot, and I said I'm thinking about streaming. Well, they helped me get going, and it's now 2024, and I've been doing it for a while now.
Yep.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, you think about it. 4 years passed pretty fast.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, COVID during COVID and a little bit, well, during COVID was the big time of it all, but I was going through a mental problem with my PTSD at the time. And that's when I really started getting into it. I was helping out Jess with the Aquatic Mooring Show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been that way for a long time, helping people out. And just getting up here and just talking about fish. It really helps. I think for me it does.
Sure. Uh, I kind of same story, roughly the same timeline. I did take a detour, with the kid, but I got into it not because of fish. I've kept fish mostly on and some off for most of my life. Like I got into keeping fish in pre-junior high. Was it pre-junior high? It was whenever we had science class and we had fish tanks and reptiles and stuff in the science class. And when we took our summer break, that stuff had to go home with somebody, or it'd be really smelly come the start of the new year. So
Yeah.
I ended up with 2 doves that I took home and a 10-gallon fish tank with 3 guppies. And when I went back to school and brought their doves back, I brought back like 600 guppies. And that's when I realized, you know what, that's kind of cool. I like that. So Dad bought me a 10-gallon, and I started off with guppies again. And we were throwing, we probably shouldn't say it on the air, but I did. I ended up throwing away down the toilet just thousands of guppies at one point because I just had so many in a 10-gallon. It was almost like there was no water in there. It was just fish kind of trying to get by each other. That's how many fish were in that tank in my memory anyway. And my dad was like, we gotta do something with that. Yeah. So he's just in there with a net, just a net, not a net. And he scooped them up and put them in the toilet and went, whoop. I'm like, oh man, that sucks. But we didn't know any better. Like you, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And I didn't know what I was doing probably until I came on the internet the first time around, back when it was just boards, no video. It was just you were responding to people in time on a chat message board kind of thing. Facebook had it wasn't Facebook. What the hell was I on? It was OscarFish.com. And we'd go in there and just talk about fish. And that's when I learned, I was in my 40s by this point. What's a water change? I don't know. I'd been keeping fish for 25, 30 years already, and I didn't know what a water change was. So yeah, I learned a lot in the early days, and then my first really big tank when I was living at home, was a 45-gallon high, and I had an Oscar in there. And nowadays you're like, oh, an Oscar at a 45. Shame on you. But back then, that was an enormous tank for me. I'm like, oh man, he'll never outgrow this. So,
yeah.
And really, he did great for his whole life. I mean, I kept him for 12, 13 years. Wow. I had him. Yeah. So, I mean, and he was, I'm sure it was old age that got him. And he had no water changes other than top offs. Later in his life, that's when I found out about doing water changes and getting rid of the hole in the head. I didn't put medication in. They said, get clean water. So I would do, the water change, get the water back to, under 20 ppm on the nitrates, and it would clear up almost every time. Sometimes better than others, but it would always clear up to the point where I was like, he's not going to die. So yeah, then I got married and I had a couple fish tanks for a while. Nothing huge. I had a 55 and a 90, which ended up leaking, and I turned it into a snake tank because it didn't hold water anymore. And then we moved here, and I just keep getting bigger tanks. Now I'm not like Ohio Fish Rescue or even June, but I've got some fair amount of good sized tanks. I got the 220, the 150, 2 150s. I got a 120, the 90, 2 90s actually. and I'm going to replace the 40 with a 65 high. So we'll see how that goes. But that's how I got here. And actually, how I got to YouTube was a tortoise. I was gifted a tortoise, not gifted, but you know, they were moving to where does Xanadu live? Michigan. He was moving up to Michigan, and they didn't want to take this tortoise with them. So I said, you know, middleman says, "Hey, you want this tortoise? You like animals?" I'm like, "Sure. How hard can it be?" Well, there's a lot of different kinds of tortoises, and I didn't know what I was getting. So when it got here, it turned out to be a sulcata, and it was already, you know, this big. And I'm like, what the hell did I get into? So I started YouTubing it. I came across Camp Kennan, you know, and he's got.
Yeah.
I mean, they're. I mean, you can see this table in my other camera. They get bigger than this table. You know, they're huge. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with that? Because it can't live outside, not year round. Maybe 3 months out of the year. The rest of the time, it's going to have to be in the house. What am I going to do with it? So, but that's how I ended up. That rabbit hole was a weird traveling experience. You know, I went from him to ponds. You know, with Greg Whitstock and his pond stuff, and he and Paul Cafaro were kind of helping Kennan for a while there. And so I started following both of them. And then that was two different paths. You know, I followed the pond route, and I followed fish keeping, which Paul was doing at that time. I have since quit following him, but he led me to all of you guys through Aquarium Co-op first, because that was the big channel at the time.
Yep.
And then he led into, and it was kind of the same as you. I started with Aquarium Co-op. His live stream would lead into KG Tropicals. And that's when I got to know John and Lisa.
Yep.
Because John was always calling me Zach Wild at the time. You know, he's like, "Hey, Zach Wild's here." And then it would lead into what, James and Ed, and then later in the night, Ed and James. Right? They switch off.
Yeah.
And then there was somebody after them that I could never stay up for, because it was not that time for old Dookie.
It ended up being me.
Oh, it was you? Eventually?
Yeah. Eventually it was always John and Lisa. Then it was James. Then it was Ed. And then I said, well, why don't I stream after you guys if you guys want to keep going? And that's when Ed gave me the Nocturnal Feeding Show.
That was later, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm talking. So when I started thinking about, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know there were channels and stuff on YouTube. I thought YouTube was just like a giant corporation. If you needed to find something, they had put it up. You know, YouTube had put it up. And that's when I found Camp Kennan, I realized, holy crap. You can have your own channel and you just put whatever you want up. That's kind of cool. And so
yeah,
it started working itself in my head. And I was getting really close to starting a channel back in 2020. And then the fucking kid died and mentally derailed me for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what has it been now? So 3 years, it kind of put the brakes on that. But yeah. I mean, I eventually got back into it. So
yeah, it's pretty amazing how you find it out. It's like, it didn't make sense to me at first neither. I was like, YouTube. I just thought, well, I mean, I knew you go there and watch videos, but I never knew like how you did it, right, or how it was done. And you know, it's your Nico wakes up and. But yeah, I didn't know like you did it yourself. Like I thought it was something like you submitted a video or something.
Right. Like it was like a corporate, controlled thing. Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
I never knew it was this. You know what I mean? It was pretty crazy, and I got to tell you what, it helped me out a lot. I got to meet a lot of awesome people. I mean, heck, I've been to the West Coast twice now. I went up north this year. Uh, I need to get down south some more. I think, man, I was real close of going down to North Carolina, but I can't do it in June. I wanted to so bad, but I ain't going to be able to.
What's North Carolina in June?
You got the Aquatic Expo, I think it's called. It's June 1st and 2nd. It's a 2-day event. I wanted to go to it because it's in North Carolina where I was born. I was going to make a little thing of it. There's going to be a day I was going to go hang out with my aunt and my cousins that are out down there. That it's funny because my aunt moved in with us down there when my dad was in the military, and she stayed. So, but yeah, it's, I got to meet a lot of awesome people. Just up here on screen was great, but then getting to see them in person is totally different experience.
Oh, for sure. I had a little bit of experience with that because, again, if you go back to before YouTube and stuff, I used to go as a Steelers fan. I don't know if you ever did this or not, but there was a chat board that you could go to that was run by the Steelers. You could go in there and just shoot the shit with fellow Steelers fans. And I got to know a bunch of guys and women through that. And we were pretty close. I mean, there was a group of like 6 or 7 of us that we'd get on every Friday and Saturday night and just, if we weren't out doing other things, you get together and just shoot the shit for a while. And in fact, you want to talk about weird coincidence where the Clash is held. He's one of my best friends now, from that chat board. I've known him for 15, 20 years now. And he lives right in the town next to the Clash. If you said it, I would know it, but I don't remember the name.
Next to Morgantown.
Yeah. It's not Morgantown, but it's like 15 minutes away. I'm like, holy crap. Oh. So that's the first year we went, the year my wife came with. Hey, Lisa. We actually hooked up with them, because I mean, how could we not? You can't drive all that way and not see them. Yeah. But the first time I met him, I actually left her behind because I'm like, I'm gonna meet. Because I went to the Steeler training camp for 20 years in a row.
In Latrobe.
Yeah, in Latrobe, and I met him in person the first time, and I'm like, you stay home because I don't know. I met this dude on the internet,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be trying to get out of the hole or not, Let me out. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of helped with later now when I go to events and I meet you guys at like the Clash was a big one. And Aquashella, obviously, I met a ton of people at Aquashella the year after COVID. Like, no, was it the year? Yeah, it was the year after COVID. Because I was going to go in 2020, and then they canceled it.
Yeah.
That was going to be my first year, and they canceled it. So I'm like,
it was probably, 22?
It was 2021 is when I went, the first time I went, and then 2022 was the year that Carrie from Science Scale.
Oh, yep.
She hooked me up with not VIP, but with
the creator's badge.
Creator's badge, and because the first year it cost me I don't know what almost $200.
Yeah,
for me and my wife to go, and I'm like, wow, that is pricey. So then the second year, she's like, yeah, if you want to go as a creator, I can just get you a badge. And I'm like, hell yeah. So I got in there and I met a lot of people that year because I wasn't as, timid. Like I remember meeting Big Rich and Susie Q that first year. I met John. I bought him a pizza. And Lisa and Jason and Joanna. Those were the big names that I saw that first year. And then the second year, man, everybody was there. We're all sitting around the table. I met Fishy Biz, Fishy Biz, and I can't even remember everybody. Mike, what's Mike? with the barn,
Oh, fish tank barn.
fish tank barn. I met him. He sat right next to me, and of course, Ed and James were there, and yeah, it was just a very very cool experience. Plus, of course, Carrie and
I I never did the shallow. I want to at least once. Of
well,
course,
see, I don't know if it's any good anymore.
well,
You
I
know,
mean,
I
just to
mean,
do
they,
it. You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah, you
saying?
could go in for sure, but
And
there's no YouTube gathering place anymore, as I understand it.
well, you just make your own. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what we
Right, just
do.
get out.
So, well, you don't understand, man. It's a Triple Crown. We made our own. We took over a section of the hotel outside, and people were coming and hanging out with us. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, no, for me, the first it was crazy because the first event was the Clash in 21. Doing all that promotion for it, we ended up getting like 20 some people there. And what was crazy about in that time frame, you know, I was in a lot of streams and chats and stuff like that. So it was like whenever you met them people, we kind of picked up where we left off in chat. It was
Right.
weird, but it was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when I met Rico for the first time, I swear it was like I'd known him, for years. There was no awkwardness there at all. I mean, same with you. I mean, I didn't know you as well, but I mean, I still knew who you were, and you knew who I was, and I mean, we could talk. We walked right up to each other, and we were
Yep.
talking like we'd known each other. Um, yeah, it's this YouTube thing is a way more advanced than just meeting people on a message board where you can see
Yeah.
their font. Yeah, that's it. There's
Yeah.
no posting pictures or anything
Yeah.
like that. It was just words. So, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah. 2021 was when I met Lisa. She was there at the Clash.
yeah. That's the year I missed. So I went in
Yeah.
2022 and 2023.
But yeah, it's just crazy the your journey. You know what I mean? Like there's always a story with it. Why you do it? You know, I do it because it helps keep my mind right.
Hmm.
I do it for fun. I don't do it to make money. Because let's face it, you got to have millions of subscribers to make a decent living off of this. But you know, just to learn, tell people what I do that works for me. I'll even tell you where I messed up. You know, I tell you what's going on
Yeah.
because maybe, just maybe, there's somebody out there that has had that issue, and they can give you some insight. Because it ain't like I could just go to a fish club next door. That's hours away.
Hmm.
Uh, I
Same.
always thought that this was my fish club. You know, this was a club to me. You know, it just it's I don't know. I think it's a great thing. Just don't I don't let it consume my life though, because
Right.
I'm pretty busy. But even that, you know, if you let it consume you, you're going to miss out on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you could really go down the rabbit hole with
oh
this.
dude,
Yeah.
I was there. I was there for a minute, and I'd dig myself out
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
noticed I was doing it too much. You know, but yeah, no, it is. I think it's a great tool. You know,
It's a great tool because I mean, not only if you share your whoops daisies, you could potentially stop somebody else who is about to make that same goof.
yeah,
You're like, hey, oh man, I was just about to do that. Thanks for
yep,
telling me, kind of thing. Or maybe you had no idea, like um, 20 years ago, before hey, what's a water change? That I mean,
yeah,
new people that don't know what they're doing yet. I mean, you can do all the research in the world, but there's stuff that you don't or won't get until you do it. You know what I mean? Experience will teach you more than books every single time. So I see we have some new people in. Hey, Michael B, and Zenny. Zenny showed up. She must have woke up early today. Fish
yeah.
gone. Who else did I miss? Did you see anybody? The other people in here. There's 30.
Well,
E-Wiz.
Yeah, B was Jenna P just showed up.
Hi, Jenna. Did I say hi to Linky? Yeah, we said hi to Linky.
Yeah.
M&C.
Yeah, M&C's here.
And Denny.
Oh, man, I got to hang out with Dennis, man. That was great. Up at the NEC, Dennis was there. It's like not far for him to drive because he lives in Connecticut. And we got to hang out quite a bit, and we actually ate lunch together at it was called Skipper's. It was it was a seafood place. But yeah, I got to hang out with him quite a bit.
Yeah, he ducked me that first year, but we got to talk a little bit last year at the Clash.
Mm.
Everybody, every time I'd say, "Well, where the hell is he?" You keep saying that, and they'd be like, "He's over there. You can see his head bobbing across."
Yeah. Zenny, that's funny.
Oh, you
Jumped
got
in.
Killer Kitty. You look at that cute. I'll give it time. I wear on everybody eventually.
I'm on Zenny's list.
Yeah. She flipping tails.
Yeah. I was beating her bingo and I made her list before.
Oh, for the
Aquarium Daily.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So yeah, I mean that was my story. I don't know. We kind of went through that too fast, probably. But if anybody else wants to talk, let me know how you got here and what you did and the weird. Because I'm sure most everybody's path is crazy wonky. Where you were looking for one thing and you found another. I mean that happens all the time. So
well, I almost went down that. Too many games, LOL. It's funny, Zen. But I almost went down the turtle rabbit hole. It was real close, and that would have been Blake's Exotic Animal Ranch's fault when he was selling certain ones, but I can't get them here because they're native, which don't make no stinking sense to me at all.
No.
If they have the turtle, somebody has it in another state, and they're breeding them, and why can't I have that? Yes, I know it's native. I'm not going to go out and catch it, but I get it. They don't want you to release it, whatever. I get that, but I don't know. That rule to me on certain things is a bunch of shenanigans.
Yep, for sure. It's just them keeping their thumb on us for the most part. And you're right. There's probably, or there was at one time, reasons why the Asian arowana. Why is that illegal now? Yeah, it was getting thin in the wild, but they're breeding those things. So walk through an Asian fish market one time. They're everywhere. They're breeding them by the thousands, and I don't know. They just have a reason, and they never come off of it.
Well, when you think about it, it's I ain't got nothing against people that live in Florida, but down in Florida, and there's some other places north of that people have released stuff and it survived and did something to the native
Mm-hmm.
things. But here's the thing: if I put that fish in my river, by winter, it's dead.
Yeah. You and I are probably in the same climate zone. I don't know what it is, but it's probably 5 or 6, right? It's pretty low. You're nothing here that's tropical is going to live outside through the winter.
Now the crayfish is a different story.
Yeah, well, that's not tropical, right? That's
yeah.
But if I were to go get a Nile monitor and let it go, it would do great for about 4 months and then it would die. There's not same with an alligator or anything else that you might want to grab. Hell, I don't think tarantulas could live up here, right? I don't know not a lot about bugs, arachnids and that stuff, but there's a reason why they're not up here.
Yeah. I don't know if they would or not. I mean,
I
you make you
mean,
kind of
it would,
wonder where they go in the winter. You know, they're hiding. They go in their places, but still, they still gotta be able to survive the cold.
right. And I think that's the reason why they never really migrated north is because
Mm-hmm.
they probably have tried and just the ones that do don't make it, selection and all that. Hey, Elishan and Monster Fish Scale. Hey, Lori.
Hello, Alishon. He says no
And
crayfish allowed in PA, no axolotls in Jersey, no
I know,
piranha in New York.
I know, Tennessee has a bunch of rules against keeping native stuff too. You can't take anything out of the wild. And I'm not a big fan of doing that anyway. If you're born free, I'm not. I mean, I taught my kids if you catch a snake or whatever outside, just let it go. Don't try to keep it. If you want a snake, we'll buy you one that was bred in captivity. It doesn't. Um, the only thing I might change my mind on is like some birds. But even birds are getting to the point where they're being bred in captivity now, right? I mean, most of them.
Yeah. It was funny. I remember I was looking out the window one day and I was looking on the
What?
power line. I said, yeah,
Found it
I
where?
believe it.
North Carolina?
I believe it. We actually had an alligator up here that somebody released. I mean, it's dead now if it was still in there over the winter, but yeah, it was crazy. Somebody let the damn thing loose because it outgrew their bathtub.
Yep. They did the same thing here in Chicago. They caught it. They brought some dude up from Florida, but yeah, he was spotted multiple times in the Chicagoland area and just kind of hanging out. And he clearly would not have survived. Same as you. I mean, you're a guy that you had running around. I mean, they're just not built for this weather. So.
Oh man, I needed that stretch.
Too coolie and Wi-Fi. I got to meet Wi-Fi. He came to the Quad City swap.
Look backstage.
Hey, Eddie made it.
Hey there.
He
I
probably
made
been
it
here
right
for 20
on time
minutes.
at 11:30.
Listen, Linda. Somebody called and woke you up.
Thank you, Oinky.
I did wake up from a phone call, but I didn't even look to see who it was.
It was Oinky.
It was Oinky.
Oh, thank you.
We put her up to
Sorry.
it. So you can blame me for having her call you.
Yeah, it's funny.
Hey Ross,
Well, it's a
what's
good
going
thing she
on, buddy?
did.
So you'll have to go through your story. That'll be a fun ride, I imagine. What brought you to fish keeping, and how did you end up here talking to me and Skip on YouTube? So the journey from beginning to here. Go.
Who, me?
Yeah, we've already done ours.
Oh, well, for starters, you can have native fish in Tennessee. You just can't get them from Tennessee waters.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can't catch anything out of the wild in Tennessee, right? I'm pretty sure nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's because of the darters. We've got a huge amount of darters left. We're like one of the last spots in the United States that has darters, and each like mountain chain has like its own type of darters in it. So what was happening is people were trying to get them and sell them because they're such a pretty fish. But yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah. I see my wife is here, Mrs. Whip, and Jesse from Salient Aquatics.
Whip's wife.
Hey,
I like
nice.
that.
Yeah, that's what she wanted. I said, we got to come up with something clever. And she's like, I like Whip's away. I'm like, okay.
That's funny. WW.
Yeah. Same as me. Right?
Yeah.
Good morning, sweet oinky.
So
And good
what
morning
did
to everybody else.
What got you here? I mean, what got you into fish keep? I know you said your dad kept them, right? Your dad kept
Yeah,
fish.
I got my first fish when I was. I mean, I have a really good memory. I can remember way back to my early years. And I think I was about 3.5 when I got my first fish because I was still in St. Louis. And I remember my dad bringing in a fish bowl. It was one of those fish bowls that had two flat sides and a
Oh
round.
yeah. The traditional, yeah.
Yep. And then it had a fluorescent rock formation type thing that he bought that was in the middle. And he bought me a black molly and my sister a gold molly. And they were dead in the morning because he used tap water.
Ah,
And I remember us flushing them. And then he went out and learned how to do it right and got like a 10-gallon tank, with the metaframe thing, and set it up. And then, like, half a year later, we moved to Kansas City. And then he ran into there was a guy at his work that sold guppies and cory cats all over. And he talked my dad into breeding a different type of cory cat and a different colored guppy. And so dad had maybe 20 tanks set up just for one type of guppy and uh, emerald cory cats. And then the two of them would go out on the weekend and sell them to the fish stores and stuff. And sometimes I'd get to go along, and that's how I ended up with a fish tank somehow. And once I got my first fish tank was in the living room. And then eventually my sister and I both got our own fish tanks in our bedroom. And I think I ended up with like 3 fish tanks in my bedroom by the time I was in junior high.
mm.
And then I moved to St. Louis, back to St. Louis. My dad was retransferred, and because the Cold War had ended, and they shut his base down in Kansas City, so they went back to St. Louis, and I bought my first. I think it was a 30-gallon fish tank. It seemed so huge at the time,
Right.
They do, don't they?
know.
When you're small.
Yeah, well, this was high school, and all my friends loved it. So all my friends went and bought fish tanks. So all my buddies had fish tanks along with me, and I kept a variety of like tetras and just happy fish. And then my local fish store went out of business, and they gave me a 10-gallon fish tank that was filled with newts, or the mud puppies or whatever, the little they were brown with the orange belly.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
newts. Those are
Yeah.
newts, right? Fire belly newts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I didn't know if I was, but
Yeah.
so I had those for years until they almost all died at the same time because I think they just aged out, pretty much. So they all lived, I think, 3 years in my fish tank. And then I had all those little tropical fish in my one tank, and my buddy Jason wanted to get a fish tank, and he bought fish before he had a fish tank. And he brought over a little catfish, and I'm like, I don't think that needs to go in my tank, but I guess there's nowhere else to go. And that thing was a channel cat, and it ate all my fish. And he said, "Oh, you can just keep it." It's like, yeah, right. You don't want it for yours.
Yeah, right.
But then I bought a 55-gallon for that channel cat, and because that was gigantic,
Mhm.
55. And that was one of my high school like graduation gifts. And then the channel cat died because I didn't properly cycle that big of a tank. I should have let it cycle a lot longer. And that's ever since that happened, I overcycle my tanks, and it was before plants and things,
Mhm.
Right.
it's everything was just slower. We used to do the technique where you put a fish in and you let it die, to cycle a fish tank, which sounds really terrible. But
Yeah, but that was the way you did it. I mean, there
yeah,
were some weird things that we did back then. Remember, I don't know if you guys ever did it. I never did it, but I know guys that have, they literally peed in the tank, to put the ammonia in there.
No.
never
I
did
never did
that.
it either, but that was a way to introduce ammonia to get
Well,
it
and
started. I'm like, that just sounds wrong
That
to
ain't right.
me. I'm not putting my hand in there.
well, we put one fish in the tank, and normally it wouldn't die, to start the cycle.
Right.
But with the 55, one fish was not enough. And
Right.
I don't know, well,
Yeah, you
but
learn,
then
right?
in college, I moved out. And I don't think college is about the only time in my life I didn't have a fish tank that I was taking care of because my dad took care of my fish tanks at home. And then when I bought my first house, I was like 22. I had opened up my photo studio at 21, right after college. And after 1 year, I was able to buy a photo studio and live upstairs. So that was kind of cool. And I had designed a way to cut a window in the wall, and I put a 55-gallon fish tank like is a fish, like a window in the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a really neat tank. And I don't know, I guess I've just gone from there. Um, I had some pretty neat tanks at my. I sold that house for a great profit, and then built a house in Missouri because that was actually in Illinois on the other side of the river. Um, and then I built a place in Illinois when I got the auto job, and I put in a 200-gallon custom square tank. That's my 200 I have downstairs. It's 4 foot high, 5 foot wide, so it's not quite square, but I wanted it to look more like a window.
Right.
Um, did that, and then I just started collect. Once Craigslist came out, then I really started collecting fish tanks because St. Louis had this huge blackout in the middle of summer, and everybody was saltwater tanks for like 2 weeks because there was a blackout. It was like a really bad windstorm. Normally it's like tornadoes and stuff, but this windstorm came in. It was worse than a tornado because it was so widespread and knocked out the power for some people for up to 2 weeks.
Wow.
And they really gave up. The inner city people gave up on fish tanks. And I mean, the fish stores even shut down. Some of the fish stores shut down and stuff. But I got so many tanks during that, time. Uh, I was just collecting fish tanks because I was planning to have a fish room in the basement when I retired. And then people would come to my house. I was a shop steward, so I would throw a big barbecue every summer, to get them to vote for me and stuff, or whatever. And they would see my African set tank. It wasn't necessarily my disc tank.
Uh-oh.
The discus tank was the 200, but I had a 125 African tank that was in my office that people pretty much just fell in love with. I had, and I still have them. I have like these concrete ancient bottles, like you'd see like in Greece or something.
Mhm.
And I put 25 of those bottles because they're like a jar or something all over that tank. And the Africans loved it, because they used them all as their homes everywhere. And people just fall in love with that tank, and then they would buy fish tanks. And I try to help them, but some of them would give up after a couple of years and bring their tank into work and give it to me. Or if the neighbor would have a fish tank, I was just getting tanks all the time for free. And then when I hurt my back, it was basically I was giving tanks away as like tips for people that come work on my house. For different things because you have to fix up all the little broken things, when you sell a house.
Right.
And I had hurt my back and I couldn't do anything because I had originally built most of my house with my brother-in-law and my dad and I. So I was hiring handymen, and they would like, I'd say, "Hey, you want a fish tank?" And they'd take one, So I was giving out tanks that way, and then I was putting them down on the corner of my yard because it was like a major thoroughfare, not a major, but a semi-major thoroughfare in front, and then my neighborhood road was like this, and I'd put them free tanks and free furniture and stuff, and people took all the tanks and everything except for I kept one Metaframe and my one of my 120s and my 200. That's all I took with me. I left everything else to go and just started over. And I didn't even plan on having lots of fish. I was just planning on keeping angels and going from there. And angels in St. Louis is really weird. For some reason, angelfish were like the super ultra rare fish that
Yeah.
have good looking angelfish. And then I moved here, and every single fish store has millions of angelfish. And I'm like, what in the world? It is
Somebody was
so
breeding them.
weird. Yeah.
I think that
And
happens a lot in some places. They only have certain fish. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I think that they're a pretty fish, and they would just get bought up quick in St. Louis, and nobody was breeding them and selling them back to the fish stores. And the fish club's all about rainbows because of Gary Lang,
Mhm.
in St. Louis. So, I mean, I'm sure it's probably changed now since it's been.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
that was
sure.
about 10 years ago. I was raising angels and discus for about the last 25 years, and I stopped discus and angels when I moved here. My last angel died about 4 months ago. I had her forever. But yep, I had all those angels for a long time. It was sad to slowly see them, drop off. But I mean, she was just by herself, old fish. She was the only fish in a 75-gallon fish tank. Was this one last angel? I just didn't want to put anything in there to bother her because she was kind of old,
Right.
What
I have to
got
keep mine
now.
separate just
So-
because of they're killers.
Yeah. So you were saying about whenever you was a kid, you got your fish tank or whatnot. I was probably 12, 13 when I first got my first one. And I actually traded a gaming system for a whole fish tank setup.
Wow.
I traded a Sega Saturn for my first fish tank.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I was
I wish I
making my
had a
own
Sega
money.
Saturn.
Yeah, I was making my own money, so that stuff was mine. It wasn't like, my parents bought it, and but I did ask them for permission because I was putting a box of water in their house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did ask, but
Humidity levels and stuff. I'm gonna blow my nose real quick, so I'm just.
Go ahead.
but I just thought it was funny because there is no way a kid's giving up an iPad for a fish tank nowadays. You know what I mean? They just ain't done it. I just think it's funny because my daughter, she gets into it, and I think that's great that kids enjoy it. But I don't see them getting how we are about it. But who knows? Maybe they will whenever they get older. You never know.
Right.
Well,
None
I
of my
bought-
kids really got into it. My youngest daughter really digs animals in general. She's always telling me she's got to, wants to get this and wants to get that. And I'm like, girl, you're working 3 jobs, you go to school. When are you going to have time for a critter, of any kind, really? I mean, you are either working, going to school, or sleeping. Those are your, hey, Johnny. So,
That was my critter.
yeah, there
Yeah.
he is.
Oh, what was the African tank? It was I had yellow labs, and then I had a hybrid African that wasn't, supposed to be a hybrid. And I don't know what for sure the two fish were that made it, but I gave lots of them away. So I was probably doing a bad thing by spreading hybrids across
Right. Yeah.
St. Louis. But it was a white fish with almost perfect pink stripes, and then its fins were almost teal, or not teal, tangerine, like orange.
Oh,
Nice.
So, but everybody loved those because they were pink. They had the pink stripes. And I mean, I gave because they bred like crazy, both of those two fish. So I had those two in there, and then and there was lots of them because they constantly had babies. And I never sold. I just gave to everybody. And
Yeah.
then I had one giraffe, the cichlid that looks like a giraffe. That's I don't know what they're called. I'm not much of a cichlid or African guy. Well, I'm not even much of a cichlid person, even though that's all I had for years was uh the discus in one tank. And I actually got a second tank just for breeding discus too. And that's I brought that home, or I brought that with me too, because it's a tall tank. It's like a a cylinder tank. Is that what they call them?
Column.
It's column tank, and that's going to be my saltwater tank someday. And I have everything to do the saltwater, except I don't know how to make the salt. And I even have the thing that registers how the density of the water is, for the salt. But I'm just paranoid of mixing the salt and messing it up, guys.
yeah. When did you make your way to YouTube?
I started my channel, I think like 15 or 16 years ago, and it was at work, and people said, dude, you got to have a YouTube channel because, I used to just talk all the time at work. Just talk like this. I love talking to people. And they were like, hey, you just got to talk about anything. You got to have a YouTube channel. And I didn't even know what YouTube was, but I made one at lunch break one day with somebody, and that's this channel. So let's see if I can. It's really funny because I'm like flatlined for over a decade, and then all of a sudden I start going upwards. I think it's
So somebody you knew about the channels and stuff. Skip and I were talking about that. Neither one of us really knew that there was like individuals running their own channels.
Well, I had kids. I had a lot of factory kids, and I say kids. They were like in their early 20s,
mhm.
and so and I was just always talking to all of them all the time. Let's see, watch hours, if that's it. Maybe subscribers. I bet maybe it's subscribers. Lifetime.
I just looked. Joined YouTube in 14, but I didn't really start doing nothing with it until 18.
Right. I'm sure I have had YouTube since it's been around. I just don't, I had an account with them, but like I was saying earlier, I had no
Yeah.
idea that I could, upload stuff myself. I figured it was stuff that's something YouTube did,
I wish there was a way to find out because I don't remember what my original channel name was. Because it wasn't always Skipper's Aquariums, I can tell you that.
Right.
Especially in 2014.
Right. Before you even started keeping fish.
It was probably T Skipper or something like that.
Right.
Mine was Ed Chaka, my name. And that's what it was here in Tennessee when I first started in the fish fam. And I wasn't trying to have a channel. I and I talked a little bit about this last night, was I did the channel just to win stuff because I did the math for the aquarium box. I knew that I would be part of the cycle that would, because everybody who made aquarium box commercials would win every 6 months. And I just did the math, and they didn't have enough people. So I was like, maybe I was the 14th person making videos for them. And I figured, well, I can do a little better than 2 of them. So maybe they're going to have to wait 7 months and I'll get a, and that was my goal. It's terrible, but that's what it was. Gosh, I know that it's right here somewhere. I look at this thing all the time and I think it's funny. Views. Hit view. No, it keeps going to revenue every time I hit views. I don't know why. New viewers. Gosh, talk about something entertaining while I'm doing this.
Well, we've talked ourselves out. No, I just hold on a second.
Dixon Designs is saying that her higher power has been telling me to make videos for the past 7 years.
7 years?
I don't.
Yeah, that was pre me knowing anything about YouTube other than I could go there and we'll listen to music.
Yeah. Make your own playlist and stuff.
Yeah, that was basically what I used YouTube for the first 15 years of its existence.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't even know what year, YouTube was, made public, but
yeah, I can go back and remember the first. I never did the forums on the internet, like the chat things you were talking about. They were called forums.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was Yahoo Messenger.
That's
Yeah,
like, you
I
can
used
see
that
how I
too.
just flatlined for years. And the giant ones were the spikes on shorts when they first came out, because you could get one short to get thousands of views, and then they changed it. But when they changed it, I started making shorts all the time because I only made a few shorts when they were super good, and I wish I would have been making shorts like I do today 3 years ago. And
Yeah, and
I'd
then
probably be
if you
at
get the right one,
500,000
you
subs.
can get that thing bouncing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything that's super good, but I've posted a few that I'm like, holy hell. Like they have
It's
nothing to
really
do with
weird.
fish, but it's usually mental health stuff because I'm a pretty big advocate of that too.
Oh, that's cool. I had one last week
Hey,
that
Jeff.
did got me 50 subs, and then they turned it off as soon as it hit 50 subs and like 8,000 views. And it really makes you mad when you have something that's that good and they just turn it off. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't even know how to look that stuff up. Like what you're showing me. I don't know what my watch hours are. I have no idea.
See, look, this one was doing super good. It got 50 subs, but as soon as it hit 8,000, they basically turned it off, and only people that look up red belly piranhas now are watching it.
Hmm.
It's really annoying. And it had over 100% viewage rate, which is supposed to be, they don't turn it off until it goes below 70 is when they normally start turning you off.
Yeah.
So it had 144% view rate. So people were watching it 1.5 times. And I really think it made sense that they did this because they had to throttle people somehow. Because I mean, basically, you're having people getting more subs than people that work hard and make a real video
Yeah.
every day, that are making it their living. But it still is really annoying, And last year they kept throttling it back because I could see where at the beginning of the year I would get, when they first turned off the throttle, I'd hit like 2,000. Everything would flatten out at 2,000. And then every month it like dropped to 200, the throttle level. And it was supposed to be, you're supposed to go up when you're getting more subs. And that was a big bummer. But they say 5,000 is supposed to be the key where YouTube allows you to go crazy. But I think they're even throttling me at, because I mean, look, it turned off at 8,000,
Right.
But I use that advertising, and that's, I think, eliminated two things. It eliminates my drop-offs, because you know how YouTube goes and they're constantly cleaning the old subs off. I'm not losing ever any subs from people drop off. So I think by advertising, they keep those on to make it look like you're getting more out of their advertising by not ever going down. And then they push it longer, And it's one video for $10 a week. They basically show all your videos, because that one video isn't necessarily doing better, but all my videos are doing better. But it's got to be a 12-second video also, or longer. And almost all my shorts, I've discovered that shorts that do the best are 8 seconds. 7 to 8 seconds are the best shorts, because people just have a short attention span, and they'll watch for 7 seconds and then turn it off. Well, if I have a 15-second one, they'd still watch it for 7, but I was only getting half a view. But when I would do 7-second ones with fish, people would stick around and watch my fish for 7 seconds. And
That's cool.
but the piranha one was 11 seconds, so I can't use that as an ad one because it was 1 second too short.
And you
I think it
can't
was half a second. I didn't think it would do that good, so I didn't. I've got a program that'll slow it all down, and it does. You don't even notice the voice change, being slowed, just to pull it out an extra second or two.
Right.
But I just don't do it for everyone, and I had no idea that the stupid piranha one would do really good, but makes sense. But,
Yeah.
Holy cow.
All right, gentlemen. It is after 10 or 11 for you guys. It's after 11 for me. It's after 12 for you. I'll get it right here. Johnny No Shoes over there at My Fish Tanks Aquatics is probably already hot. So if one of the mods could drop his link, that'd be cool. Or I could do it, I suppose, if nobody wants to do it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys showing up. Ed, thanks for coming out of your coma.
Sorry for coming up late. It's so bright.
That right? That's what happens in the morning.
Oh my gosh, you can hear all these birds and stuff.
So I do appreciate everybody that showed up. We ended up with like over 40 here at the end, which is cool, with no lead in. Without Foxy bringing people in, and I didn't really anticipate getting much here today. So I do appreciate everybody showing up. Skip and Ed, I do appreciate you guys coming up and sharing your stories with us. And anybody, you got anything to close out with? Either one of you?
No. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. is the Aquarist auction on my channel. So be there, buy stuff.
That's
There's
right.
Awesome stuff coming up.
That's awesome.
That's your channel at 8?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay. And you got it again?
I see Debs is there. Do you know they call flashlights torches in
I
England?
did know that.
Yeah.
Do you think we don't call them torches because we didn't use torches? That because they've been around for like a million years longer than we have, and they had to use torches for
Yeah.
light. And I mean, by the time the colonials came, we had lanterns. I was thinking about that last night when I went to bed, and I was going to be like, "Isn't that neat?" If I see Debs,
And you
and then I
did.
saw her.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
All right.
I'll turn my torch on my phone. It just seems so strange.
Yeah, right. And they
I
call them
wish a torch
bubblers.
would burn
I don't
things.
know if it's an England thing or a Southern thing, but don't like we call them drinking fountains or water fountains, and someone else calls them bubblers, right?
I don't know.
Where you
that's
get a drink, a bubbler. I'm pretty sure.
they have some weird words down here in the South, but since I never work with people here, basically, guys, I communicate with you and doctors. That's all, and my mom and dad. I don't really have too many friends, except like when my 50th birthday party was. When I turned 50, my mom was like, "Well, we would like to have a surprise birthday party for him, but the only people we know that he talks to is the fish store owners." So they were going to invite all the fish store owners over. and then she decided to ask me, and I was like, "No, it's all right. They don't want to come over." And maybe they would have, but
Hey, Creek.
it's all I talk to. They call the carts buggies. I know they do that.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of weird terms for that. We use the whole soda and pop thing, depending on where you're from.
Yeah, I'm a pop guy. And you see in St. Louis, it's soda. In Kansas City, it's pop.
Really,
And
that close
so,
to each other.
yeah, same state. And I worked at the movie theater in high school or in college. And I would call it, would you like, because you're always supposed to upsell. And I would say, they would buy popcorn. I'd say, would you like some pop with that? And people would look at me like I was joking. And I went, I mean, sota.
Well, some people will be like, hey, let's go get a Coke, and they grab a Pepsi.
Right. Yeah, Coke just means everything. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it used to be.
Hell, that's what they do with here in Illinois. Everything Chicago. If you are not from Illinois, it's amazing how many people just say, are you from Chicago? Meaning Illinois. Because nobody knows any other town around here.
Yeah.
All my education's in Illinois. My high school and college is all Illinois stuff, and my photo studio was in Illinois. So I lived in Illinois for about 20 years, maybe, or 15.
I'm sorry.
I know. Well, my dad would kick himself because he's like, I'm doing this wrong. Because Illinois had worse property tax and Missouri had worse income tax, and he was working in Missouri and living in Illinois.
Could have been the other way.
Yeah, right?
But he did that because they were trying to find me the best football team to play for. And we played for a team that was always one of the best teams in Illinois. So, and that was really nice of them because I liked being on the best team.
Yeah, right? That is a perk.
Yeah. But I mean, not too many in Texas, they hire coaches to coach the kids. But up north, they basically have the school teachers coach the kids. But this school, it's a public school in Illinois that had enough money. They hired their own football staff, so we had our own football staff. And
they didn't have to teach. They were just a staff of coaches.
They were just coaches. And half our team were recruits. Like there was a guy I played football against in Kansas City. Because he played for in Pee Wee leagues, we played together because we were both linemen. So we butted heads through childhood, ended up on my team in Illinois. From St. Louis, he was there. So weird. But his dad worked for the railroad and he wanted to put his kid on the best football team. So he went there. And we would get lots of kids from Missouri going to that school.
Nice.
Because it had such a good reputation and it was so good. Cool.
Well, all right.
Yep.
So, all right, I'm gonna hit the end button and just to remember, make time for the people in your life that matter, man. We'll talk to you soon.